So we now officially have our two teams that will be competing for the Larry O'Brien Trophy, the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics. This year's finals matchup should be a pretty intriguing series to watch. Not only will this be a fun NBA finals to watch, but it also has a pretty good storyline going into it. Kyrie Irving will be coming back to Boston, and also Kristaps Porzingis will be playing against his former team as well. But there is another team that we should be probably talking about during the NBA finals, and that is the Brooklyn Nets. Due to terrible trades and mismanagement, the Nets have helped both of these teams. If it wasn't for the Nets, we would not be getting this finals matchup, so let's talk about it. Okay, so the year is 2010 and the New Jersey Nets have just hit rock bottom. The Nets finished the year with a record of 12-70, dead last in the Eastern Conference. Despite having the worst record in the NBA, and also having the best odds to win the number 1 overall pick, they sadly ended up being the 3rd overall pick, which meant they couldn't draft John Wall. The Nets were far removed from the Jason Kidd era, in which the team made it to back-to-back NBA Finals. Fast forward to 2010, half the finals roster is gone, the team was awful, fans weren't showing up, and oh yeah, and also, the team was moving to Brooklyn in a couple of years. So yeah, being a Nets fan around this time was not fun. But 4 significant things would happen that would lead to the events of 2013. The first thing that happened was the Nets had a new owner, a Russian billionaire named Mikhail Prokhorov. Prokhorov had high expectations for his newly owned team. One of his goals was to win a title within 5 years. To achieve his goal, he needed a GM. Enter Billy King. As we all know, Billy King will be most remembered for a certain trade he made that will always be remembered as one of the worst trades in NBA history. But don't worry, we will get to that in a moment, we just gotta set it up real quick. Around this time, Billy King was most remembered for his time with the Sixers, in which he fumbled opportunities to build around Allen Iverson. But he was hired anyway to help Prokhorov achieve his dreams of a title, and Billy King got to work. The last 2 things that would happen that led to the events of 2013 was trading for All-Star Deron Williams and ISO Joe Johnson. Thanks to these trades and a more improved roster, the Nets would make the playoffs in the 2012 season. Sadly, the Nets would lose in 7 games to the Chicago Bulls. But hey, look at the bright side. This is an improved team with tons of potential. All you need is just a couple more pieces or a big time trade. And that's when Billy King had an idea.
Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Jason Terry, all going to the Brooklyn Nets. Celtics get 3 number 1s, 2014, 2016, 2018. Humphries, Wallace, Evans, just a bunch of stuff.
Every team has its version of a blockbuster trade that turns the franchise into a contender overnight. Like when the Celtics traded for Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen, which turned the Celtics into title contenders. And funny enough, that's who Billy King would end up emulating. In the 2012 season, the Celtics' big 3 were on the downswing. The Celtics just lost in 6 games against the New York Knicks, and it was pretty obviously time to rebuild, and that's when Danny Ainge got an offer he couldn't refuse. In the 2013 NBA draft, the Boston Celtics traded away Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Jason Terry, and DJ White to Brooklyn in exchange for Chris Humphries, Gerald Wallace, Marshawn Brooks, Chris Joseph, Keith Bogans, and 3 first-round picks, plus the right to swap first-round picks in 2017. The job was finally done. The Nets had their championship team assembled. Sure, they gave away their depth pieces and a lot of first-round picks, but whatever. It doesn't matter that Billy King may have crippled the team, but those draft picks won't matter. The Nets are going to be winning so many titles, those draft picks won't mean anything. Watch out, world. Here comes the Brooklyn Nets.
And Miami has won it!
Aw, crap. Yeah, so it turns out trading away the farm for a bunch of dudes in their 30s is not a recipe for success. The only success it got them was a playoff series win against the Raptors and an ass beating by the Big 3 Miami Heat. But hey, there's always next year. A few problems though. Paul Pierce signed with the Wizards and Jason Kidd left for the Bucks. In the following season, the Nets would lose to the Hawks in the first round. And then the next year in 2015 is when everything went to crap. In 2015, the Nets went 21-61 and dived right back into the basement. Kevin Garnett was traded back to the Wolves, the declining Joe Johnson and Deron Williams were bought out of their contracts, and Billy King was fired for his crimes against humanity. The next 2 seasons would be absolute stinkers as well. But hey, with all this losing, they can get a first round pick out of it. Oh, that's right. Thanks to Billy King's terrible trade, the Celtics were able to draft Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. The two Celtic stars have turned the Celtics into a regular playoff team and constant championship contenders. So instead of emulating the Celtics, Billy King ended up emulating the Timberwolves. Oh, and real quick, I didn't know where to add this in the video, but Gerald Wallace was traded for a first-round pick, which turned into Damian Lillard, and also, the Nets traded Troy Murphy and a random-ass second-round pick, which turned into Draymond Green, so, there you go. So that is how the Celtics benefited from the Nets, but how the hell did the Mavericks benefit from the Nets? Well, that all has to do with our good friend Kyrie Irving. In the 2018-2019 season, the Nets bounced back from the horrors of Billy King. The new Nets were a promising young team led by D'Angelo Russell, Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, Joe Harris, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, and Jared Allen. The Nets returned to the playoffs with a 42-40 record and stole a game against the Sixers, but would go on to lose the next 4 games. But this was a bright spot. The team was an intriguing free agent destination. So intriguing that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving signed with the Nets in the offseason, turning them into instant championship favorites. But there were some issues with those signings. Kevin Durant tore his Achilles in the finals against the Raptors, so giving him a contract not knowing if he will return to form is a bit risky. Kyrie was a risky signing because during his short time with the Celtics, he left on not so great terms and showed he wasn't ready to be a leader. The Nets went 35-37 in the first year with KD and Kyrie. Kyrie Irving missed 52 games while KD didn't play any since he was recovering from Achilles surgery. Kenny Atkinson was surprisingly fired at the season's end due to KD and Kyrie not liking his coaching style, so he hired Steve Nash to appease KD and Kyrie. And in the first full season with KD and Kyrie, the Nets showed out. Thanks to another blockbuster trade with the Rockets, James Harden joined the Nets to form a super team. In the first round against the Celtics, the Nets ran right through them in 5 games. The Big Three showed out, especially in Game 4 when the Big Three combined for 104 points. The Nets were on to the second round, and no one was stopping this team.
Was wide open and a very quick...
Well, only 2 things were stopping this team: injuries and Kevin Durant's big-ass feet. In the second round, the Nets fell to the Bucks in 7 games due to injuries to James Harden and Kyrie Irving, and also Kevin Durant's feet being on the 3-point line. Sadly, that would be the only playoffs that these two would play together, because the next season, the Nets' Big Three imploded. To cut it long story short, James Harden requested a trade because he was becoming more fed up with the Nets due to them mismanaging his hamstring injury, and also he was getting tired of Kyrie's constant distractions. So James Harden was dealt to the Sixers for Ben Simmons, Steph Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-rounders. So Harden got traded for a whole lot of nothing. In the playoffs, the Nets were swept in the first round by, hey look, the Celtics. And in the 2022-2023 season, this would be the magnum opus of the end of the Big Three. Steve Nash was fired 7 games into the season. Kyrie Irving was causing more issues due to his antics, and sprinkle in a KD MCL sprain, you have the end of another super team. KD and Kyrie were traded, and that was it for another failed superstar team. This benefited the Mavericks because Kyrie's reputation at this point was pretty low, and so was his trade value, and that's how the Mavs were able to get Kyrie for a bunch of role players and 1 first-round pick. Again, that is a whole lot of nothing. Keep in mind, Rudy Gobert went for 4 first-round picks. No offense to Gobert, but I just want to show how low Kyrie's trade value at the time was. So the Mavericks ended up not making the playoffs, and also they just ended up tanking in their final few games, which ended up helping them in the long run since it gave them Derek Lively. And now this season, thanks to the new additional pieces like PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, and also Kyrie Irving maturing and turning into that veteran leader and focus on basketball, the Mavs are going to the NBA Finals. So in conclusion, the Brooklyn Nets inadvertently held both the Mavericks and Celtics with their important pieces to help them make the playoffs and the NBA Finals. And also, if you're a Brooklyn Nets fan watching this, I think it's time to find a new team to support, dog. So anyway guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe because it really helps the channel. You can watch another one of my videos over there. Anyway guys, I am OneDubs. Thanks for stopping by.